I've decided to start a reading vlog. So my boyfriend had to unexpectedly go out of town for the week, so I have a little bit of extra time after work to read a little bit more. So I decided that I would start a May TBR reading vlog. I just finished listening to the Brissinger audiobook today, so we're not gonna really discuss that book very much in this vlog, other than I really loved it, enjoyed it a lot. Again, I love the narrator of that series, of those audiobooks, and really enjoyed the story and the progression of the story and the dragons and the magic and the elves and the dwarves, and I love all of it. So it was great to be able to finish that book today. And the physical book that I'm reading right now, which this has a cover on it, so I am currently reading the second book in the Secrets of the Nile duology, which is Where the Library Hides by Isabella Banez. I am 100 pages into this book, 100 pages exactly, chapter 8. And I am enjoying it so far. So in the first 100 pages, we've found out a little bit more about Wit in his life. He was pretty mysterious in the first books. We're finding out a little bit more about him now, and a little bit more of a backstory or additional information on Inez's family, which is also interesting. Really liking the book so far. I'm glad that I was able to jump right back into the duology, since the first book left off on a pretty big cliffhanger. So really enjoying that so far. So the audiobook that I started after finishing Brissinger is City of Nightbirds by Joo-hae Kim. And this is a book so far about about one main ballerina, and it kind of goes back and forth in her story. It starts off in present day, and she's in St. Petersburg, and a person from her past approached her and wanted her to come to some tryouts for a ballet. And so she goes, and she's, I guess, recently had an injury, so she's dealing with some of that. So there are some certain moves and some things that she can't physically do. So that kind of posed a problem. And then the past is when she was growing up and her going to this ballet academy, and the people that she met there, and her life while going to this school, and also doing ballet every single day, training and practicing and all of that. It seems like most of the characters are Russian, and it takes place in Russia. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm about 2 hours into the audiobook, so I still have about 10 hours left, but I'm liking it so far. So I will check back in once I get a little bit more reading done. All right, back for another update. So I have gotten pretty far in Where the Library Hides. I have about 70 pages left, and there are still a lot of questions to be answered in this book. So one of the biggest questions that we left off the last book with, we haven't answered yet. So I predict that it will be a very quick last 70 pages, action-packed. We've got Wit and Inez. They're working through some stuff. There have been more betrayals, more crazy things that have been happening. So I'm still really enjoying this book. I also picked up the London Prep, The Party, book number 5, which was also on the TBR. I was somewhere and I didn't bring my actual book, but I had my phone. So I just opened up my phone to the Kindle app and started reading that. So I've just continued to read it on and off with this book as well. And I have about 100 pages left of that book. So I'm on page like 230. I think it has about 330 pages. So 100 pages left. So far, the series is about this American girl, Mallory, who comes to London with a foreign exchange program and lives there for 3 weeks. She lives with a host family, which has a mother, a father, and then the brother, Noah. And then she goes to their private school for 3 weeks. And so she meets a lot of people, she meets a lot of friends, and there's a lot of drama that happens in this series. So, you know, boy drama, relationship drama, girls being catty and not liking each other for really no reason, and just typical high school stuff. So it's been a while since I have read this series. It's probably been 5 or 6 years since I picked up the last book in the series, book number 4. I'm having a hard time getting reconnected with the characters and honestly like caring about the characters because it's been so long since I've read it. So book 5 picked up with events that I didn't remember what was happening. So I was quite confused. They were talking about, oh, this thing happened last night, but not actually describing the thing that happened last night. And just saying the thing with Noah that happened last night. And I'm like, I don't remember what happened with Noah last night, because last night for me was 6 years ago. So it was kind of a struggle getting back into it. And this series is YA, which this author writes mainly YA books, which is fine because I really enjoy Gillian Dodd, her writing and her stories. But a lot of it is just really very high school. So much drama and just like, I don't know. Oh, I want to kiss him, but no, he's here now. I can't kiss him. Like, come on, just get over it. Like, I don't know. It's a lot for me. And I have to remember, you know, they're in high school. I don't remember which year of high school, but probably somewhere in the middle, maybe sophomore, junior, maybe around 16-ish. And so I have to remember, you know, at that age, liking a boy or, you know, that boy liking you back and fooling around with them or whatever was, you know, a really big deal and stuff like that. So I have to remember that it's set in high school just because some of the writing is pretty juvenile. But it's a really fast read. So I'm getting through it pretty quickly, and you know, I will finish the book, and we'll see once I finish it if I actually want to continue the series or not, because there are 4 more books in this series, and I don't have them, so I would have to either buy them or, you know, get them on Everand or something, because my library doesn't have them. It only has this one book. So, and they're rather expensive. I think they're like $10 each for the ebook, which is a lot to spend on a series that you don't necessarily love. So we'll see. Once I finish this book, decide if I want to continue out the series or not. So moral of the story is I wish I hadn't waited so long to pick up the next books, because now I'm totally out of the world and don't care about the characters as much, and I'm not enjoying it as much as I did. Like I rated books 3 and 4 5 stars. And now I'm just like meh about the series. So I wish I had continued reading them, but it is what it is. So I'm also still listening to City of Nightbirds. I'm a little over halfway through that. So we are continuing the journey with Nadia, and there are some interesting things happening to her, and kind of a twist, and a little bit of a mystery that's going on, which isn't talked about in the synopsis of the book, so I'm not going to really go into it, but we're still following her in her present day training for the ballet, and then we're still going back into the past and finding more things about her past and her past relationships and her ballet and where she was performing and moving around in Russia. And so I am enjoying it so far. I think just because I haven't, or it's taking me so long to get through the book, even though it's not a very long book, I just haven't been doing a lot of things where I would be listening to an audiobook other than driving. So I'm kind of wanting it to be over already. Like, it's taking me way too long to get through this book. So I'm hoping I can just get through it, find some projects to do where I can just listen to the audiobook. I do need to vacuum, so I could just vacuum today and listen to the audiobook there as well. But I will check back in once I'm done with one of the 3 books. Okay, we're back for an update. I finished 2 of the books that I've been reading. Thank goodness. So I finished Where the Library Hides last night, and I really enjoyed this book. So I really enjoyed Isabel Ibanez's writing and her writing style. Even though it's a little bit YA, still really enjoyed the book. There were a lot of things that weren't super YA, which I liked about the book. So there's a lot of lying and mayhem and backstabbing and murder and tricking, and I really liked those aspects of the book. And we do get a good conclusion. Inez's story wraps up nicely. We solve all the mysteries, and in the last 70 pages, a lot of stuff happens, just like I predicted. So another big reveal that I was not expecting at all. A lot of times I can kind of predict what's going to happen, but in this case I couldn't. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So Where the Library Hides, really enjoyed it. Definitely recommend this duology. If you are into kind of historical fantasy-esque. Really loved the history of Egypt that was in here, and how the author incorporated that into the book, and all of the different, on all of the research that went into that. So all about Cleopatra and all about Egypt and archaeology, which I love archaeology. So really, really enjoyed this. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as What the River Knows, but I still loved it, and I am giving this a 4.25 star. So then just this morning, I finished London Prep number 5, The Party. So in our last update, I wasn't really sure if I would be continuing in the series or not. And I have decided that I am going to continue the series. So the last like 17-ish, 20% of the book convinced me to read the next one, which is probably the author's goal on most books. I enjoyed the last part. Things with Mallory and one of the male main characters have picked up for sure. Really enjoyed that happening finally. And they're gonna go on a little trip in the next book to Harry's country house. So excited to hear more about that and what drama ensues, because I'm sure there will be a lot of drama knowing Mallory and how she is. But overall, this book was good. Just a lot of drama, a lot of, not even angst really, just high school drama, overreacting, being impulsive. It was okay. I'm not sure on my rating for this book yet. I haven't quite decided. So I rated books 3 and 4 5 stars, and this book is definitely not 5 stars. I'm leaning around the 3-star realm, but I haven't exactly decided yet. So, and then I have about 45 minutes left in the audiobook of City of Nightbirds. So I will hopefully be finishing that today, and then we can wrap up this reading vlog. So I will be back with a final update once I finish that last book. So I'm here to finally close out this vlog. It has been a few days since I've updated you guys, but I did finally finish the City of Nightbird. So in this book, we follow Natalia and her journey through ballet from when she was a child, learning ballet and going to school, and then through her adulthood, performing in the theater and working through an injury and through some difficulties that she's having in her life. Now, the mystery that I discussed earlier, I may have been reading more into that than the author intended. I'm not really sure. So it doesn't mention anything in the synopsis of the book. However, Natalia seems to have some bouts of amnesia, or she can't remember blocks of time. And during these periods where she can't remember things, that is when we have the scenes from the past. So I thought it was more of something like she was hallucinating, or she was actually like traveling back in time and re-experiencing these events, or something along those lines. But I have a feeling, since that issue was never brought up or addressed, that it had to do more with her alcohol use and use of prescription drugs that she was originally prescribed to treat her injury, but then continued to abuse throughout the years. So I think I was a little confused, or maybe read too much into that. I thought there was more going on there than there actually was. So overall, I did enjoy the book. I enjoyed the story. Was it my favorite? No. However, it took me a little bit longer to finish the book than I would have liked, and that's my fault, just because I wasn't dedicating quite enough time to actually listening to the audiobook. But I ended up rating the book 3.5 stars, so I liked it enough to rate it over 50%, so that's a good thing. I enjoyed the writing. I did enjoy the story and learning about a little bit more about Russian ballet. So that was good. So overall, I really enjoyed the books that I read this week. So that wraps up this vlog. So let me know if you have read any of the books or if you liked any of them. And like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.